Today, the country woke up to a curious notice by the Kenya Pharmacy and Poisons Board that warned of counterfeit versions of otherwise popular common medicines and contraceptives in the Kenyan market.
We ask why unscrupulous businessmen and women would be so daring as to play what amounts to a game of Russian roulette with the lives of Kenyans, and more importantly, who is watching Kenyans' backs when it comes to the entry through major ports of such counterfeit drugs.
Well, this is your independent and authoritative news channel, KTN. I am Ann Kiguta.
And I'm Eric Latif. Let's take a look at the highlights. Fake drugs of popular medicines intercepted in Nairobi.
We must always maintain peace.
Leaders appeal to emotions of Mombasa residents to stop the chaos.
Only 9 weeks for third term, but will the teacher strike allow learning?
And the tragedy of a 12-year-old girl raped twice by different men.
Welcome. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board has put Kenyans on notice after an assortment of counterfeit versions of popular everyday medicines found their way into the country.
Well, the consignment comprised 11 different medicinal drugs of dubious origin, which are reported to have been brought into the country and sold to various distributors before the matter came to light. KTN's Ktn reports.
Kenyans awoke to a notice in the newspaper in which the Pharmacy and Poisons Board sought to notify members of the public of falsified and unregistered medicines that had been seized as they were being sold to members of the public along Accra Road. The notice listed 11 drugs including Zaloda, a cancer drug, metakelfin, an anti-malaria drug often used to treat expectant women, Nulid, a pain reliever that was banned in Kenya in 2007, Celestamine tablets, and Postina 2, the emergency contraceptive pill, also known as the morning after pill. This, together with Enzoy, a vitality drink that has also been withdrawn from the market for failure to meet the regulatory standards. The notice drew immediate reaction from members of the public, anxious to find out whether they had come into contact with a counterfeit drugs.
You know, there's no that sign of it's fake or it's original. That's the problem. Unajua sasa wengine wetu hata tununui hiyo gazeti hata tujui zinakaa hata kusoma tunashindwa, lakini tukiona kwa TV tunaweza jua zinakaa hivi.
According to the Poisons Board, the key to recognizing the counterfeit drugs lies in the batch number often printed on the box in which the drugs come. Alongside the names of the drugs, it printed the batch numbers of the counterfeit drugs. But how did the drugs find their way into the Kenyan market? The Pharmacy and Poisons Board reports that 3 weeks ago, the consignment came into the country from Dubai in various suitcases that were presumed to have been carrying clothing and other items. Once they arrived in the country, the medication was repackaged, making it difficult to differentiate them from the original products.
If these goods came in through the right ports, we would have detected, even using the technology we have, software we have. But because they have come through other routes, they're just a criminal thing.
However, while they looked like the real deal, medical experts warn that they do not meet the requisite standards.
Kuna watu ambao they want to undercut kwa kukopi na hazina components as required by law.
The suspect, a female, has been apprehended, and the Poisons Board reports that it has managed to mop up a significant portion of the consignment from various distributors, but questions abound as to the side effects to those who may have purchased the drugs, and how many more consignments may have made their way into the country under similar circumstances.
Whatever was among this consignment has all been pulled out, but if there are others, we don't know.
These are 15 million shillings worth of falsified drugs that found their way onto the Kenyan market. However, Kenyans are fortunate that they were found and taken off the market in time. However, questions abound as to what other dangers lurk for Kenyans who purchase their medication from questionable sources. Reporting for KTN, I'm Ktn.
Well, it is a good thing that the Poisons Board has sounded the alarm over these drugs, but it is a worrying thing they actually found their way into the market, which is our topic for a big question tonight. We're asking you, whom do you think should be held accountable for the easy entry of fake drugs into the Kenyan market? Who should we hold accountable for that? Send us your yes or no response with a short comments to the number 8040. We'll of course be sampling them as we go along this bulletin, and we'll give you the results at the end of the bulletin.
The government has moved in to stamp its authority after 3 days of unrest in the coastal town of Mombasa. Security officials have changed tack, imposing a lockdown in areas that have been identified as trouble hotspots. President Kibaki, who's at the coast for the Mombasa International Trade Fair, says peace must be maintained. Dennis Onsarigo, who's in Mombasa, reports on a day that has remained largely calm after 4 days of protests.
President Kibaki was arriving in Mombasa a week that has seen violent protest, death and destruction. From the usual security presence that is mounted by the regular police, the presence of the army keeping an eye on the presidential function was telling. The government has in the past 1 week been weighed down by security challenges spanning across at least 2 provinces. Matters security featured in the president's address.
We must always maintain peace and security, which is the foundation of our prosperity and democracy.
The local leadership was also appealing to emotions at the height of a tense city.
Vijana muangalie msitumike vibaya wakati huu. Na haswa kwenye hizi shida ambazo zimeanza pale, ujue ya kwamba ukimuumiza mwenzako, ni ndugu yako, ni Mkenya mwenzako, na mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu ni makosa sana.
Sisi kama viongozi hatuwezi kukaa kimya na kuona mji wetu, pwani yetu inawekwa katika maisha ya hatari. Hatuwezi kamwe. Tutalaani na tunasema kwamba 2 wrongs do not make a right.
What has shocked the nation is the change of tact by the rioters. From the street protest seen early Monday afternoon, a group of youth have directed attacks on police officers, escalating attacks to the use of grenades on Tuesday. 5 people have been killed, 3 of them police officers. Wednesday night, 7 police officers were injured after a group of people hurled a grenade at their direction. The incident at Lebanon area in Mwembe Tayari left 3 of the 7 police officers in a critical condition. The targeting of the churches has also left security and religious leaders, both Muslim and Christian, concerned.
We should embrace, coexist, and tolerate each other as one people and one nation.
That this is our home. Kenya is our country. We must stand for it. We must fight for its peace.
Away from the International Trade Fair, security agencies changed their approach in dealing with the will-be protesters in the Jengo area, one of the hotspots of the queues that have rocked Mombasa town since Monday. Security forces locked down the area, making it virtually impossible for groups of young men to converge there. Only last night, 11 people were arrested as police tried tracking down a man they have described as tall and dark for questioning. The man was seen near the scene of the blast that injured 7 police officers. The normal evening life is slowly returning back to the streets of Mombasa after a chaotic start to 4 days of this week that has seen death, destruction and loss of property. The biggest challenge now is for security agencies to make sure this peace is maintained. Dennis Onsarigo, KTN, Mombasa.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Another 3 days of riots in Mombasa have seen millions of shillings worth of property destroyed and much more wasted in profits after the chaos forced businesses to close down. KTN's Asha Mwilu sought out tourism bodies and business leaders to find out the immediate effects of the violence on Mombasa's economy.
As police battled to restore sanity in Mombasa, the tourism industry was grappling with its own damage control mission. With the United Kingdom and Australia having issued travel advisories to their citizens, hoteliers and caterers were afraid there would be massive booking cancellations. By Thursday afternoon, however, things were looking up for the industry, with tourists moving about as usual.
And we haven't had any major cancellation as such. Only a few families here and there who have put forward their travel plan, which again is natural.
And usually, in the absence of the overseas tourists, we get a lot of domestic tourists who boost our economy.
Nonetheless, the Mombasa riots have put Kenya on the spot. Experts argue that while the effects may not be felt right away, in the approaching peak season, Kenya might not record the standard tourist numbers. Activities at the ports have also not been majorly affected, owing to the fact that the two major hotspots of the recent clashes, Majengo and Sabasaba, are situated far from the ports. Normal business operations in the city have resumed, but businessmen have complained of major losses incurred during the 3 days of rioting.
Kumekuwa na cancellation nyingi za booking na watu kuwasili kwa time, wengine walishindwa kufika, wengine wamefika, wengine abidi tuwabebe kwa njiani upande wa Miritini wa kuweza kuja town wapi.
Property worth millions of shillings having been destroyed by the rioters. The turnout at the Mombasa International Trade Fair opened by President Kibaki was also low compared to previous years, traders arguing that the clashes had a hand on the low numbers. Experts now fear that foreign investors will be jittery to make any business moves in the coastal region at this time. Analysts also say that the chaos may pose a great threat to the country's security if the government fails to quell the tensions completely. Germany has joined the list of those releasing Mombasa travel advisories. Asha Mwilu, KTN, in Nairobi.
The Minister for Education has confirmed that schools will close for the long holidays on the 2nd of November this year, after only 9 weeks of the third term.
With the teachers' strike set to begin next week, there are now real fears that schools will be unable to complete this year's school's calendar or syllabus as earlier scheduled.
And as KTN's Patrick Amimo now reports, national exams for primary and secondary schools will start on the 5th of November.
Both the Kenya National Union of Teachers, KNUT, and the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, have vowed teachers will boycott classes next week when schools reopen. The Teachers Service Commission and Ministry of Education officials have engaged union officials in frantic efforts to avert the strike. But stakeholders are concerned about the government's silence as the strike date fast approaches.
And I think it's a worrying trend because when you have such a period of time, you've been given a period, to negotiate, and you're not doing anything about it. It's an attitude that we are saying as Kenyans that it does not help.
The third term, Mr. Speaker, is scheduled to commence on 3rd September 2012 and will end on Friday, 2nd November 2012, giving a period of 9 school term weeks.
Examination candidates will be the worst hit by the teachers' strike. Over 770,000 pupils are expected to sit Kenya Certificate of Primary Examinations, KCPE, with another over 400,000 candidates booked for Form 4 examinations, KCSE. Learning for millions of other children who are not sitting exams will also be disrupted. The Kenya Primary Schools Head Teachers Association is in support of the strike as its members converge in Mombasa next week for the annual conference.
I am in touch with them. I know they had a meeting yesterday. I talked to them and I told them our conference is on, and it should be understood that if anybody is for us as members, as the professionals, they should come and support us.
And we want NAT to be there also, and in the loudest voice say what they are telling the government. Even the president will be there, and in fact he will hear them easily when they speak from a very close range with him.
In Parliament, the Education Minister maintained holiday tuition will not be permitted.
The ministry has never endorsed and will never endorse a policy on extra tuition as a way of covering the syllabus. The holiday ban applies to all schools, private or public.
Learning is also set to be paralyzed in Kenya's public universities next week, affecting over 100,000 students. The University Academic Staff Union, Universities Non-Teaching Staff Union and other affiliate unions have called on their members to stay away from their workstations from 6th September next week. This comes as over 1,000 medical students of the Eldoret-based Moi University withdrew services from the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital demanding their allowances. The same crisis has hit Kenyatta National Hospital. Patrick Amimo, KTN Prime.
The Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee wants Transport Minister Amos Kimunya and Central Bank Governor Njuguna Ndung'u sacked for their alleged role that led to the loss of close to 2 billion shillings in a currency tender with Delarue Limited. The committee in their report, which if approved by Parliament, would then see the two censured by the House. KTN's Arun Acheng reports.
Parliament may suspend Minister Amos Kimunya and Central Bank Governor Professor Njuguna Ndung'u and investigated on their fitness to hold office if it adopts a report by Parliamentary Accounts Committee on the Delarue saga. The committee questions the manner in which the two handled the contract by the government and money printing firm Delarue Limited, in which cancellation of a permanent tender and award of a temporary one led to a loss of 1.8 billion shillings.
The committee requests that Professor Njuguna Ndung'u must step aside from office with immediate effect.
Parliament was also informed that Kimunya, together with Professor Ndung'u, defied several pieces of expert advice on how to handle the tender and went ahead and revoke and later award the same company, Delarue, the contract to print money on a short-term basis.
We are shocked as members of the committee to hear both the Delarue directors and the Honorable Amos Kimunya tell us that they were so patriotic they wanted to save 260 jobs at Delarue. Where was that patriotism when the same minister was killing the jobs of 1,700 Kenyans at Telecom, Mr. Speaker?
Are being referred to as having connived to share loot, to share some spoils, and that, in my understanding.
Yes, you don't have to go further, Honorable Halwala. You know that is a breach of the rules.
Exactly.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, if you could give the necessary directions to protect my reputation.
Halwale also says they found that former Central Bank Acting Governor Jacinta Motela lost her job because she stood her ground and defied orders from Kimunya to award Delarue the contract without competitive bidding. The House adjourned until Tuesday next week, when motion will be subjected to a vote on whether to adopt or reject the recommendations. Aaron Ocheng, KTN Prime.
On to a rather sad and disturbing story from Kisii County, where there is double tragedy for the family of a 12-year-old girl who was allegedly raped by a clinical officer at the Kisii Level 5 hospital after she had been admitted as a result of a previous rape encounter.
Yeah, the clinical officer has since been arrested pending further investigations.
A Class 6 pupil, only 12 years old, and she will definitely live to remember the disgusting ordeal that she went through just a few days ago. This will probably be a painful story to watch, but the truth hurts. Tuesday, and the young girl is kidnapped by two border operators in Kisii town. Reports indicate that following the abduction, she was taken to a room where she was locked for 8 hours and raped continuously. With the clock ticking, her mother became worried of the whereabouts of her daughter, and after a search, they found the girl. Later, upon interrogation, she told her parents that two men had repeatedly defiled her in turns from 11 a.m. With a heartbreaking revelation, her parents went to Kisii police station to report the matter and were advised by the officers to first seek medical attention. This they did, but little did they know that their daughter would go through yet another ordeal. Her parents waited outside the observation room as their daughter was being examined. However, the clinical officer who was attending to her is said to have raped her after he closed the door and switched off the lights to the examination room. Nurses working on the night shift got suspicious of the man's movements and allegedly found him defiling the girl. The enraged nurses descended on the clinical officer and raised alarm, attracting the girl's parents, who are waiting outside the room. Kisii Deputy OCPD Julius Meme confirmed the incident and said that the suspect will be charged with defilement. Police reports indicate that this is not the first time that the man had faced similar allegations, as he had just moved to the hospital 2 weeks ago after facing similar allegations at Nyamache District Hospital. For KTN Prime, I'm Betty Kialo.
truly heartbreaking story there. Let's remind you now our big question. We are asking you, whom do you think should be held accountable for the easy entry of fake drugs into the Kenyan market?
Send us your yes or no response with a short comment to the number 8040. Of course, we'll be sampling them during this bulletin and give you the poll result at the very end. You're watching Ktn Prime. Just keep it right here. It's just ahead.
The saga of the Nairobi water crisis, part 2.
Fastest 3G internet just got faster. You can now top up internet bundles with your scratch card. Dial star 544 star, enter the 16-digit PIN number hash from Safaricom.
Freshmatic. Just set the timer and it releases bursts of fresh fragrance automatically and brightens your home. Something in the Airwick.
The Salad Center's popular Food World Fair starts Wednesday and runs through to Sunday. An event housewives, schools, restaurants, hotel caterers and purchasing managers must not miss at the Salad Center. This week, entry free.
It's a nice party. If the toilet is used frequently, it's bound to get dirty. But there is a solution, presenting new Harpic Hygiene. Just clip it onto the rim of the toilet bowl, and with every flush, you get a clean, hygienic, and fresh-smelling toilet for up to 3 weeks. Wow! So fresh! And remember, also to regularly clean the toilet with Harpic liquid to ensure your toilet stays clean and fresh all the time.
Mom, why do you use Kimbo to cook everything? I could say it's because Kimbo contains 0% cholesterol. Or I could say it's because it's made from pure refined vegetable oil. And it's fortified with vitamins A, D, and E.
Or I could say it's because Kimbo brings out the natural taste of food.
So why don't you? Because the real reason I use Kimbo is because my mother used it. And as we all know, moms are always right.
At the heart of every family, there's a mother. And at the heart of every meal, there's Kimbo.
So Dad, is Mom always right?
Of course she is. Except when she's wrong. Kimbo, the heart of every meal.
Kunawa mikono kwa sabuni kunaweza zuia kuhara kwa 50% na maambukizi ya shida ya kupumua kwa 25%. Ni wakati upi unafaa kunawa mikono? Unaweza kuwa bingwa kwa kunawa mikono pia. Nawa mikono kwa kutumia sabuni.
Ujumbe huu wa afya ya umma umeletwa kwako na Dettol na washirika wengine. Nawa mikono, okoa maisha.
From on-road to off-road. From off-road to no-road.
If it's rough, rugged, and dependable off-road driving you want, then go for the 4.2-liter Nissan Patrol pickup. The Patrol is full of ferocious power and a never-say-die attitude that has given it its legendary status. The Patrol has the perfect mix of style and brute performance to help make light work of daunting terrain. Its superior off-road performance comes courtesy of its all-terrain suspension, impressive torque delivery, and a wide array of features to help you take on your chosen task.
Nani kama Nissan?
Oh, my angel! It's been so long since I've heard you sing.
Oh, she can't. She's got a cold again.
Well, I'm sure you're taking proper care of your hygiene.
Yes, I use antiseptic liquid in my bath water.
Oh, that's smart. But germs are also getting smarter, and your protection is still the same.
So what's better?
This.
Lifebuoy?
Advanced Lifebuoy. While bathing, it gives better germ protection than antiseptic liquid. 10 infection-causing germs. 1 advanced protection. Lifebuoy.
For mothers around the world, family's health is paramount. But every day, thousands of people are affected by germs that cause infectious diseases like flu, skin rashes, diarrhea, and cholera. You work hard to keep yourself and your environment clean, but are you really safe from germs? Most infectious diseases are spread by touching contaminated surfaces or infected people. That is why health experts around the world recommend that you use Dettol every day to provide a healthy and hygienic environment for your family. Always use Dettol on cuts and wounds, for bathing and shaving, for disinfecting your laundry and various surfaces around the house. Every day, Dettol provides maximum protection against a wide range of unseen germs. When it comes to protecting your family, trust Dettol. Dettol, the world's #1 antiseptic, endorsed by the Kenya Medical Association.
It's all about big laughter.
They say the road to heaven is short and narrow. Now if you are tall and fat, where will you pass?
It's all about the best comedians.
I was looking at you because you are looking at me.
It's all about the best jokes. It's the biggest, craziest comedy show on TV, and it's coming to KTN.
Swag nayo.
Welcome back to KTN Prime.
Residents of Butere in Kakamega County paid their last respects to the late veteran politician Martin Shikuku. Shikuku's body was airlifted from Nairobi to Kisumu, then to Butere, where public viewing of the body was allowed at the Huisero grounds and Buchanya Girls Secondary School in the Sebatia area.
Shikuku will be laid to rest on Saturday at the grave that he had prepared 9 years ago in Kiminini Bunambo area of Trans Nzoia County. Shikuku passed on last week after a long battle with cancer. He will be remembered famously for his contribution towards multipartyism in Kenya.
Kupata multiparty nchi yetu ilikuwa shida mwaka wa 92, lakini yeye alikuwa mstari wa mbele kupigania hiyo multiparty, na akaendelea hivyo hivyo kupigania katiba mpya. Amechangia sana sisi wa Kenya kupata katiba mpya.
Parliament has faulted the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission over delaying the forthcoming general election. Regulations. MPs say the country risks going into the polls without electoral guiding principles, with Parliament only having one session to approve the critical regulations. Here's KTN's Samogina with the report.
Parliament is grappling with yet another deadline to breathe life in the country's electoral regulations. MPs are faulting the electoral managers for failing to meet the legal deadline of effecting rules and regulations to manage elections. IEBC rushed to deposit the regulation to the Attorney General's office before they were tabled in Parliament late Thursday afternoon. MPs say the move to delay enactment of the rules is suspect.
It's clear we will not be able to approve these regulations 6 months before elections as required in law. Can the Minister assure the House and the country that we will still have elections on the 4th of March next year, and how we are going to have those elections without these regulations being approved by the National Assembly?
It is just that we had our table full, our hands full. It's not a conspiracy. We are within time. The rules have been well prepared, and they should be able to meet the satisfaction of this House.
The electoral regulations entail voter registration process both locally and in the diaspora, parties' nomination rules, appointment of presiding officers, vote tallying, and the controversial nomination fees for candidates vying for various posts. Parliament has only one sitting session on Tuesday next week to approve the regulations. The Elections Act 2011 stipulates that IEBC can only apply the regulations upon approval 6 months before the polls. The 6 months period lapses on September 4th.
Especially with regard to the high nomination fees, is regretted. But these regulations, I want to assure the Honourable Member and the House and all Kenyans that they are just proposal, and the House is free to amend.
Meanwhile, ODM parliamentary group members convened at Orange House to spruce up their campaign strategy. ODM campaign teams drawn from the party and the Prime Minister campaign secretariat will consolidate to campaign as a unit.
Makundi yote yanayohusika katika kampeni hiyo yatahusika vilivyo katika kampeni hii. Kwa hivyo makundi kama vile Sibanduki, Mashinani, ODM Reloaded, Fora, marafiki wa Raila, vijana na Raila, ni makundi mengi kwa sababu tunajua kwamba mgombezi wetu wa urais ndiye anatamba Kenya mzima.
Elsewhere, the United Republican Party, URP, moved to diffuse controversy that has marred its grassroots elections in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
We have made it a resolution. We have made it a commitment as people of this county to have a free and fair election, free of violence, free of voter intimidation.
Samogina, Ktn Prime.
The Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company says it has a stringent quality monitoring program to ensure the majority have water supplied to them. Users with access to piped water use much more than the average, while those without access to piped water have to agonize and make do with the little they can buy from vendors. So where do the cartels of water vendors get their water from? KTN's Joy Doreen Bira made a trip to Ndakaini Dam and fetched some interesting facts. Here's part 2 of our special feature, A Drop of Life.
In the year 1988, the Kenya government compulsorily acquired approximately 1,200 acres of land to create space for the construction of Thika Dam, commonly referred to as Ndakaini Dam, to supply potable water to the residents of Nairobi City and its environs in regulated quantities. Appointed by the Athi Water Service Board, Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company has been put in place as an agent to execute the task to provide water and sewage services to the residents of Nairobi in line with the enactment of the Water Act 2002. At full capacity, Ndakaini Dam supplies 70 million cubic meters of water.
Our installations, we have Sasumwa Dam, we have Ndakaini Dam, Rio Dam, and the Kikuyu Springs. Those are the main source of water. And we treat that water at Ngedo, Kabete, and Sasumwa.
If Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company is the water service provider charged with the provision of water and sewage services in Nairobi, then why the inadequate supply of water to Nairobi residents?
Currently, we are producing about 520,000 cubic meters per day. We have a shortage of about 150,000 cubic meters per day.
Basically, when we have very good rainfall seasons, that is the March, April, May, in the Abadeas, then eventually we shall have good inflows into the rivers. The good inflows into the rivers now reflect the inflows into the reservoir, and then we eventually have the reservoirs going full.
The average Kenyan has 5 people in a family. For most, buying water from hand-cut water vendors is the only affordable alternative. But again, their prices may not be affordable for many. A 20-litre jerrycan costs no less than 20 Kenya shillings. Given the average consumption of water in a Kenyan household a day, a family buying water from hand-cut water vendors at 20 Kenya shillings spends a minimum of 2,250 Kenya shillings on water every month, a significantly higher expense on water than the normal water bill. Yet still, residents continue to receive water bills.
Yes, in some areas, like for example in Kirigiti, Kawa West, Kawa Sukari, those people now have water. We appreciate that they have not had water for a very long time, and we were still billing them.
Being billed and getting water on 24/7, there are different scenarios. Whatever is registered in the meter, that's what we charge. In case somebody is overcharged, there is a mechanism of making the complaint. Because I don't say that we have people who cannot make a mistake. They may go to the field and instead of reading a 6, they read 9. Or instead of reading an 8, they say it's a 3, depending on how that meter is.
Some residents have alleged that the continued water shortage in some areas could only have one explanation: a cartel.
Someone is playing games. I would call it a cartel. Somebody who knows how to make money from the kiosks.
Okay, maybe there are cases here and there, but there are not really many.
We are coming down on any malpractice that could be being done by our staff.
In this case, the few existent ones could only be affecting quite a number of Nairobi residents at the expense of weak security personnel. However, as the population in Nairobi continues to grow, most definitely all the residents need constant water supply and water bills concurrent with the same. Could it be that someone is not playing their role effectively, or is it a capacity problem?
The urban population increment has not been matched maybe with the infrastructural development.
Each one is supposed to play its rightful role. For example, water service providers like Nairobi Water is an agent of Earthly Water Services Board. There are 8 other boards, water services boards within the country.
We have a big shortfall of water that we are supposed to supply to the city. And that is one of the big problems, or one of the big challenge that we have in providing water to the entire population of Nairobi.
If Vision 2030 is anything to go by, a feasibility study and master plan for developing new water sources for Nairobi and satellite towns recommends groundwater development, abstraction and diversion of 3 rivers to supply additional water by 2017. The only hope is that by then, Nairobi Water Company can account for the current 40 to 60% of water pumped to the city with constant flow of water with minimum interruptions at regulated quantities. For now, it appears someone between Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company and Earthly Water Services Board is not doing their job right. For KTN, I am Joy Doreen Bira.
That this is our home. Kenya is our country. We must stand for it.
We must fight for its peace.
Stand by for code word. Code word is imminent. Bond. James Bond.
Get ready for the Nikona Safaricom live tour. Roadshows, campus tours, concerts, all coming to a town near you. With phones, airtime, tabs, and many cool giveaways. Plus, backstage passes. Connect with your favorite superstars. Kapula, Jaguar, Jalango, Jimmy Gate, Size 8, and Southie Soul. Featuring special guest performance. The Nikona Safaricom live tour. See present posters for details and be there to experience it live. Nikona Safaricom Live 2012. Keeping it real.
This week, we're focusing on the assisted voting process, and we're here at the Kenya Society for the Blind, and we're talking to persons living with disabilities. They have their questions, and to respond to some of them is Commissioner Kule Galma Godana.
We would want all Kenyans who are eligible to vote to come out and vote. The Commission goes an extra mile in making sure that registration centers for voters, polling stations are friendly to people living with disabilities.
IEBC, your vote, your future.
Kunawa mikono kwa sabuni kunaweza zuia kuhara kwa 50% na maambukizi ya shida ya kupumua kwa 25%. Ni wakati upi unafaa kunawa mikono? Unaweza kuwa bingwa kwa kunawa mikono pia. Nawa mikono kwa kutumia sabuni.
Ujumbe huu wa afya ya umma umeletwa kwako na Dettol na washirika wengine. Nawa mikono, okoa maisha.
African dishes in association with Golden Fry.
Pan-fried fish. Ingredients: 1 kilogram fish fillet, 1 cup all-purpose flour, salt and pepper to taste, lemon wedges, golden fry oil for frying. Directions: in a deep frying pan, pour about 1 inch of golden fry oil and heat it. Slice the fish into thin pieces, not too thin. In a mixing bowl, mix the all-purpose flour, salt, and pepper. Coat evenly the fish fillet pieces in the flour mixture. Fry the fish a piece or two at a time, depending on the size of your pan, for 4 to 5 minutes on each side or until golden brown. Remove and drain on a paper towel. Serve with tartar sauce and lemon wedges.
Golden Fry. Fries more, lasts longer.
Before the gold, silver, and bronze, it's the red. It's the green and yellow. It's the black, red, and green. Because at the Olympic Games, it's not the color you go home with that matters. It's the colors you came in. And when colors mean this much, you can only trust them to Ariel, proud keeper of Kenya's colors.
A very good evening to you and welcome to your home of business. This is KTN Business Today. My name is Boni Tunya. Now, Kenyan tourism exhibited marginal growth in the first half of 2012 on the back of increased fears over insecurities, a sluggish Eurozone crisis and uncertainty in some Kenyan source markets. Now, the country's international arrivals for the first half of the year by air and sea closed at 5,664, 835 tourists compared to 5,049 and 83,000 tourists in the same corresponding period last year. Here's more. The total number of tourist arrivals via the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport grew by 9.3% to record 473,805 arrivals compared to 2011 that saw 465 visitors. The number of visitors via the Moi International Airport in Mombasa stood at a paltry 91,030 visitors compared to 115,032 in 2011. A 20.9% decline, perhaps an effect of insecurity and terrorist threat in the coastal city. A period that saw no cruise ships called at the port of Mombasa in the first half of the year.
The five top markets in terms of performance has been the UK, where we have 6% growth of arrivals. USA, we have 17% growth. Italy has had a beating and we have decline of 12%. India, we are seeing a growth of 4.6%. In the period between January and June 2012, there was slight increase in the total international arrivals, marking a 2.9% growth. Despite the harsh operating environment, more than 80% of the source markets had recovered fully. Traditional source markets which remained active include the United States, United Kingdom and India. India surpassed Germany to become the fourth largest contributor to the total arrivals, averaged 29,202 visitors. India was also the highest contributor from the Asian market, followed by China, which had declined by 3.5% to 14,608 visitors. And from the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates grew by 93.7% to 16,583 arrivals. The revenue estimates for the period under review closed at 38.7 billion shillings compared to 36.4 billion shillings during the same period last year. Now, national carrier Kenya Airways can now continue with its planned staff restructuring. Now, this follows the lifting of court orders that had been filed by the Aviation and Allied Workers Union. The union had moved to court seeking to stop the restructuring process and instead have a Labour Minister appoint a conciliator to deal with the issues of redundancy. Now, the union also raised issues around notices for voluntary early retirement. In an affidavit sworn by the National Chairman Perpetua Mponjiwa, the workers claimed that airline had conflicting positions whereby they were employing foreign cabin crew and yet laying off staff in the name of cutting costs. Now, the current spate of hacking in the country is a sign that the IT industry is finally matured. Now, this at least according to the local computer experts, who adds that it is a wake-up call for government and private entities to tighten up their security systems to minimize losses in terms of data and other valuable information. Philip Ketani has more.
Government and private sector players has over the last month witnessed increased website hackings. Although the attacks are uncoordinated, concerns have been raised on the security of local website platforms. Earlier this year, 103 government websites for high-level ministries and departments were reportedly hacked by an Indonesian hacker. But according to local IT experts, this is a testimony of weak investment in security for the protection of data and information.
CIO who's looking at the infrastructure of the company and they're like, all this stuff is eating into our resources. It's eating into our time. It's opening up to security holes. It's doing all this.
According to a PricewaterhouseCoopers 2011 Global Economic Crime Survey, 2/3 of businesses and other organizations in Kenya were victims of economic crimes in the last 12 months. With experts arguing the crimes committed through the new technologies poses the biggest challenge to organization and law enforcers. The report ranks Kenya highly in growth of hacking activities.
Technology has ceased being a supportive, just a supportive thing for the corporate or for the business.
The CIO East Africa Annual CIO 100 Awards recognizes excellence in execution of IT projects and recognizes organizations and the people behind the projects. This year's competition is deemed Value Creation Through Innovation, is expected to attract over 500 participants across East and Central Africa. Philip Ktn for KTN Business Today.
And now look at company results, where CIC Insurance posted a 17% drop in first half pre-tax profit to 470 million shillings, down from 568 million shillings, hurt by one-off costs related to its listing at the Securities Exchange. Now the insurer's gross written premiums rose 27% to 4 billion shillings, up from 3.2 billion for a similar period last year, even as while investment income surged 75% to 471 million. CIC, which listed its shares early this year, was however optimistic that its earnings should improve in the second half due to the absence of those costs and improving in economic fundamentals. The directors did not recommend an interim dividend. However, CIC's drop in profits means it is the second insurer in the Kenyan market to report such results, after CFC had reported a 23% drop in the first half of profit this year. Moving on, and South Sudan's Upper Nile oil fields may take up to half a year to resume production after the government signs a final deal on export fees with Sudan. Now, South Sudan's oil minister said on Thursday, getting crude flowing again from the Unity oil fields may take up to a year. He said, adding that facilities needed repairs and renovation after they were damaged during border fighting with Sudan earlier this year. Now, landlocked South Sudan, which seceded from Sudan last year, shut down its production of roughly 350,000 barrels per day in January during a row with Khartoum over how much it should pay to pipe crude through Sudan for export. Now, the two sides reached an interim agreement on fees this month, but the final deal has not yet been signed. Oil Minister Stephen Thedeu told Reuters that he expected the government to sign a final agreement by September 22nd, a deadline set by the UN Security Council. The new nation has left severely was severely underdeveloped by the long conflict and before the shutdown deepened for oil up to about 98% of its state revenues. And now time to look at numbers and how the NSE has been performing all week long. Here are the figures from the NSE. Well, and that's your business. We do this again tomorrow. My name is Bonnie Tunya. Do have a good night.
Corazón decepcionado, te quedaste acostumbrado a otra forma.